This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
And you had been emailing with me about the job, but I got an email from you that said you're ready to proceed with an order, but I'm not sure what I'm ordering.
I am imagining that you need hinges.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But that's kind of why I was contacting you guys was if you could recommend some hinges.
Yeah, sure. Well, running the formula for wide throw, you need a 5-inch wide hinge. If it was me, and if your design will tolerate a 5x5, I would probably go with that because it'll be less expensive than a 4x5.
And this is just like a conventional butt hinge?
I assume the answer is I am thinking that you do want full mortise but conventional butt hinges.
No.
I wasn't the person. I'm not Terry. I just saw the email and decided to step in. So if you had a discussion with Terry that resulted in you sending him the attachments, forgive me. I start from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, I mentioned my project to Terry because basically, like, I had been in touch with, I want to say ABH, is that correct? They make, like, pivot-style hinges. I think that's the name of the company that manufactures.
ABH is a manufacturer that makes pivot hinges.
Yeah.
Pivots,
so
I should say, not pivot hinges, pivots.
Sure. So I was in touch with them because basically, like, these sash are obviously wider than they are tall. So my fear is that a conventional butt hinge will lead to sagging over time. So my first thought was, like, when I had done, like, some just preliminary research was there's, like, this a strap-style gate hinge that Locksmith makes that has, which I like because it has some adjustability for, like, accounting for movement over time. But because of the design construction and the depth of the barrel of the strap hinge that Locksmith makes, it kind of prohibited me from pursuing that option. And then in, like, talking to ABH a little bit, they, I had just come across their hardware. He had recommended maybe a pivot-style hinge because, the hinge itself is supporting more of the sash in the width dimension. And, I guess they use them for wide doors that don't have as much sagging issues over time. So, but I don't, ABH won't sell direct to me. I have to go through a distributor. And that's how I kind of came to you guys. So that's
right.
The long story.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Well, I hadn't considered the idea of a pivot because the subject line has hinges in it, so I thought it was just hinges. So let's take a look. Now, I thought to myself, well, you're probably going to want to use a heavyweight hinge. You're probably going to want to put 2 at the top and then 1 at the bottom, or a total of 4, 2 at the top, 1 in the middle, and 1 at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean the sash are only 40 inches tall, so.
Oh, 40 inch. Okay.
Yes.
I'm rotating these files.
Sorry. The one you're, if you want to look, like, so the first one in my in my first email to Terry, the first one is a vertical section.
Yeah.
The second one is a horizontal section. It should have been rotated, my apologies. And then obviously the third one is the elevation, which is rotated 90 degrees. So the sash themselves are 40. Yeah, they're like 50 inches wide by 40 inches tall.
Yeah. So the problem that you're going to have with pivots, and ABH, they're really good people, but in order to get 180 degree, You're not. Well, let's look at the elevation.
I mean, 90 degree is fine. Like I said 180 degree, but I spoke out of turn.
That's no. 90 degree would not be ideal.
I mean, these are it's an infill for a garage door, so it's a historic carriage house that's being converted into a living space. But those windows are really only going to be open for ventilation purposes, right? Like, so max they're going to open 2 inches or 3 inches just to let some air in. They're never going to stay open at 90 degrees because there's a driveway there, so it would impede traffic. They can't stay open 90 degrees.
So either 5, 10, 15 degree or 180. I got it. Okay. So and ventilation, you basically would say we would never lash them back to the wall because we would never leave them open at 180. Okay, so you'd probably want to put a casement adjuster on there or a casement friction holder to prevent it from moving on its own, or get a cabin hook and lash it in place.
Right.
So, so in that regard, since you only need to go, well, the width is a problem with butt hinges because of the cantilever action. If I was going to do it with butt hinges, I would put 2 at the top and I'd put 1 at the bottom. Okay. What works to your advantage on only cracking it open is you could go with the narrowest of hinges. You could do commercial grade 4x4s. And it looks like your brick mold that's there will allow you to not require a raised barrel hinge. But hinges are not very beautiful. Because you're only going a small amount, offset, standard 3/4 offset pivots would be really, really good. You can do knife hinges, but they're not. How heavy would you imagine the sashes will be?
I think they're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 60 pounds. I was going to make them, so like a standard sash that we make like, larger thickness is 1 3/4, but just given the fact that these are so big, I wanted to put a pretty heavy 10 in it because we, true mortise and tenon in our sash. So I was thinking about going up to a 2-inch sash or even a 2.5 inch, just so there's a solid mortise and tenon joint there. And then plus the insulated glass, so I'm imagining somewhere in the neighborhood of like 50 to 60 pounds,
Yeah, I would say it's going to be every bit of that. So, I think the pivot idea is beautiful. Now you'll need an atypical pivot because you're not going to have the ability to just bolt that floor plate down to a floor because you don't have a floor.
Right.
So you wouldn't use their 117. You might use their 117 1/4, which is jam mounted.
Okay.
Or and I'll send you cut sheets. Or you would use the.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the ones. That's I think the gentleman's name at ABH was Brandon. I spoke to, and he recommended.
I know Brandon since Eisenhower was president. Well, what did Brandon tell you?
So he basically. He said the same thing. Like, you'd want to use a 117, but you could potentially, because one of my concerns was there was like a 117 slimline, I think he said, but I didn't love the fact that there was like a knuckle or the pivot portion exposed on the bottom exterior. But he said it's all like stainless steel. So, my fear is just like water accumulation over time down there. But he said what I could do is they have like a custom order form for the 117s. And I could just order tops, but use them for the top and the bottom, I think was his recommendation. He also did recommend like a full height, almost like a heavy duty piano hinge. But I noticed on their website that the smallest, continuous mortise hinge that they make is like 70 inches, which is way too big for my application. So I kind of threw that one out the window.
No, you don't want a continuous hinge. That would look awful. So what is the width of the style on the sash?
So that's the thing, right? I can kind of play around with it. In my drawing, it's supposed to be 4 inches, but that's how it needs to look. I can also, if I need to make it smaller, I can make it smaller. But it's supposed to mimic a carriage door, so the style of the sash is supposed to mimic a door style.
Yeah,
so
not a window.
Yeah.
So Brandon, peace and love, but I would not use top pivots, top and bottom, because top pivots are not load rated. That's not a good idea, because over time, it's just, if you had a problem with that top pivot, ABH would then probably say, well, yeah, you've used it outside of what it's warranted for. So if it was me and if this was my house, I would tell you, you are using sauce hinges. Make your design accommodate sauce hinges. Done.
Okay.
You don't see anything. Easy peasy. Put 3 of them on there, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom, and it's a mic drop. Walk away, you're done. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Now, you could go...
Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is you could, if you wanted to hide the knuckles on pivots, you'd have to go with center hung, but then the radius you'd have to put on there would be noticeable. Unless your gap was huge. You could pop all that into AutoCAD and know exactly what you're doing, or I could. But sauce to me is lights out. Lights out.
And do we worry about, like, sagging over time with sauce, or no? That's
negative.
Kind of
Negative.
Okay. I've never used sauce before, so...
I have hung, check this out, I hung a 4090 hollow metal door 12 gauge.
Wow.
That had 50 thousandths thick stainless glued to both faces.
Jeez.
And this was a door that's like kitty corner from Trump Tower in Manhattan. So it was one of the really high-end retail spaces for their service door. I hung, and this was all standard sauce, not their heavy-duty stuff. We did at a mall a 307 018 gauge, and then they laminated 3/4 granite on it.
Jeez.
And that's just the that's just the standard sauce. So I think sauce is lights out. Now you're going to have to you're going to get into the material behind the jam because of how deep a sauce hinge is. So you'd have to look at the template for that. But if you can accommodate it, your client's going to say you're a genius.
Yeah, I mean, I have no casement depth limitations. Like because of the brick molds, I have at least, and it's a garage door, so there's no like brick cavity that I'm butting up against, so I can make my casing 2.5 inches thick if I needed to. Yeah. So there's no restriction there. So okay, I mean, if that's your recommendation, I trust you, and I would love to put an order in with you to get these going. So it's 2. So if you say 3 per sash, I would need 6.
Right. Yeah. Because of the width, I would soldier stack 2 at the top. And so, what would be your preferred finish?
So,
because what I'd like to do is confirm that they're on. Okay. So oil rubbed is in stock.
I mean, I don't know what makes the most sense. For hardware, I think most of the stuff we built the front door and some windows and stuff for them, and they've chosen like a brushed nickel. But does it just make sense to use do they make a white? Because the casing and the sash edges are all going to be white, and would white just, since it's a kind of a concealed hinge, would it make sense just to match it to the paint color, or do you want that to stand out?
Well, that's an owner question. So if it was me and everything's white, I would personally want white, but I can tell you that white is going to take a month of Sundays to get out of sauce. I happen to I've got less than half of what you need to do it all in white. Sauce is going to take 6 weeks for sure. I do stock satin nickel that I can ship out in a day or two.
Let's do satin nickel in, because honestly, they're really easy clients. They're really great. So they kind of have a lot of trust in what we're doing. So I don't think it's going to be a big. And as long as it matches the other hardware, it's fine.
Yeah, it'll either do that or you'll, get. I'm not saying just get your paintbrush and whack it on there, but you can do something like that. I might consider wire brushing the face, priming the face, and then putting on a oil-based white on the outside, on the exposed. Well, the problem with that is the knuckles, the plates that are riveted together. Yeah, you know what? Even in their application, they're never going to see the face.
No, exactly, because the limit is going to be. Oh, and that was my other question. Does it make sense? I said I should still use a limit stay, correct? Like a ventilation.
Well, I could not. I couldn't see you not using a piece of hardware like that. Or if you don't, I would get a cabin hook or something like that. Cabin hooks are nice because they're long and they're solid brass and they're beautiful in the finish. I happen to sell them, but I think that is for sure a discussion to have with the client because that's exposed hardware.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's do the hinges, and then I'll have a conversation with them. And why don't you actually, let's do this. If you could just send me the sauce information, like for me to, I guess, an order to place with you. But before I order them, I'd like to talk to the client, and then because if we're going to do any other kind of like a limit stay or a cabin hook, that way we can just combine the shipping together into one order.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to put on this quote are the hinges and then the other pieces that you'll say, wow, I'm really glad that guy shipped me the template and the router bit for doing this.
You already know.
So I'll put them on there.
I've spent too much time making router bit templates.
Oh, man. I've got a CNC, and I mean, how many bushel loads do you need? But it's just nice to put. I cannot make this for what they charge for the template. So
yeah. Well, it's like, Phelps. Are you familiar with their hardware?
I don't know that I am.
Kind of period sash hardware. They make a really pretty nice sash casement lock. It's a mortise casement lock. And the fit and finish is pretty nice, but they don't provide any templates. And it's like, in today's world with CNC and how easy that stuff is, because all those, all the hardware has a CAD drawing. So in order to create a template for it and send it out, why not just offer it? I just don't, never understand that.
Back in the old days, with DWG files, people were so cagey about it. It's like, I didn't ask you for the recipe to Coke. I'm not asking you for the secret sauce. Okay,
yeah, I just want the straw to drink it,
yeah, just make. I mean, I have a caliper. I can do this the hard way, but I would prefer not to.
Exactly.
And,
it's saves so much time. I had to do we did a bunch of French doors that use that hardware because it kind of blends the line between a Cremone bolt and putting a casement fastener, because the casement fastener is just so dinky. But these things, they have a nice handle to them, so they feel almost like a door. But they're good. It's just the templates are non-existent. So, but anyway, thank you. I really appreciate your help on this.
Oh, my pleasure. So give me a moment. I will send you an email, and I'll send a follow-up one with a template for the sauce hinge. And I have personally done sauce many, many times. It's like people are so intimidated by them, but the first time you do one, you go from intimidated to master. And just doing the first one. So if you've never done one, just don't worry. The water's fine. Okay,
perfect. Thank you so much. And your name is Richard, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, so the clients, the forms that were supplied to us from the client, this is a cross-section or a wall section. Looks really good. So his sash, as the client said, is 40-inch tall, but they happen to be wide because they're carriage doors. And so we're looking at a cross section here. 2-inch thick, nice and robust. It's going to be beautiful. I'm not sure what's happening here. Maybe sliders. Let's look at the next document, which is an elevation, which is an elevation. Yeah. So he's hanging these bad boys up here. This one and this one. And the whole concern is that width, that 50-inch width. And I thought he said 60-inch, but nonetheless, it's wide. It's wide and short. So really, where's all your weight? Well, it's not in here. It is definitely out here is where your weight is. Let's take a look at the third and final document that the client provided, and this is the one that I used most in determining what the client wants to do. So the dimension, when I was initially thinking butt hinges, I couldn't tell the thickness of this, 1.5 inches. So the formula for wide throw is dt, parenthesis, dt minus backset times 2 plus I plus C. Okay, dt is door thickness. That's 2 inch. Let's figure a backset of 1/4 inch. Times 2, no problem. Plus inset plus clearance. Okay, so we've got 1 3/4. Oops. You know, and also as I look at this, you know, I see references to gasketing here. Yeah, I would definitely think the client needs to put a lot of good thought into what they're going to do to gasket all of this. You know, it might be worth really worth doing some interlocking weather stripping here, where you can. I would absolutely do rabbited edges in the meeting style of these doors. And I didn't go, oh, okay, great, beautiful. Okay, so not rabbited edges. I mean, I didn't go into detail with the client like that because it obviously sounds like he really knows what he's doing, making carriage doors. But I would be doing metal interlocking weather stripping. The sill is a challenge, and you know, maybe this design is changed to do metal interlocking weather stripping. And what I mean by that could be, wide throw. Sorry. Oh yeah, I got interrupted. I had to take a phone call. Let's finish wide throw. So sorry. 1 3/4 times 2, that's 3.5. Plus your I plus your C. Now what's I and C? Your inset and your clearance. Let's go back to that. Your inset is the 1.5 dimension. So 2 inch minus 1/4 times 2 is 3.5 plus 1.5, that's 5. You have no clearance because this is flush out here. This is inset, and clearance would be anything applied here. You don't have any. So 5 inches is going to work. That barrel is going to come out to about here, and that door is going to swing open and go to 180. According to the conversation now, 180 is not a requirement. Okay, awesome. That made life a lot easier. Okay, back to that's where the butts were. Let's just go back to the gasketing idea. He's got, you know, he's kind of looking like this, right? With the bottom of his situation, which I'm getting from here. Okay, so what I'm thinking might be something more like this, and do an interlock principle here. Okay, let me show you a catalog of gasketing. Metal interlock. I would like to use bronze on this. Let's try again. Let's do that again. Okay, let's go to Dorbin. Not my preferred manufacturer of choice for weather stripping, but there are times we need to look at Dorbin. This is one of those times. All right. I wouldn't want to use anything made of chemistry. No plastics, no vinyls, no neoprenes, no silicones. I want something that's going to last a century, and that's where metal interlock comes in. So you could really do. I didn't knowingly rip Dorbin off. Let's do this. Page 31. But isn't this what we're talking about? Right? In the jams, I would absolutely consider some concept like this. You could. This is good. The meeting styles, do the same thing. Give yourself a rabbit. Not meeting styles, but the area here. Give yourself a modified design here. Go with the same concept that we're talking about. How do I want to do that? I'm really just spitballing here, by the way. Your mullion. And then come in here with your nested hooks. Actually, it's going to look more like this, right? Kind of more like that. That'd be really cool. In here, change that design a little bit. Dorbin catalog. Yeah, anyway, so this would be what I'd be thinking about if we're really going to do it as tight as possible, something like this. Okay, back to the hanging device question. So, butt hinges, yeah, the fact that you've got such a wide situation happening, that is concerning. I had said 2 hinges up at the top. That's what we're doing, because all the weight is out. All the weight is out here. 70% of the weight of the door is hung by the top hinge. I would have, frankly, I was thinking this is going to look awful. 3 5x5 heavyweight hinges on this door. It's a lot of hardware. It's a lot of, you're bringing a 50 caliber machine gun to a fight where they're throwing rubber rocks. So then the client started to tell me that he called ABH. Okay, awesome. Let's talk about ABH. Now, when he was going with pivots, I was automatically saying to myself, well, they're going to be offset. He can't center hang them, because if he were to do center hung, has been covered prodigiously in other places. Here's his jam. Here's his door. Your vertical axis of pivoting is going to have to be out here. Again, I was initially thinking he had to go to 180, so that would have been a problem, because he probably wouldn't have got to 180 on 1.5-inch offset pivots, even though he probably would have. But he just needs to take his door and get it cracked to here. Okay, well that's easy. That's when the client said pivots. And when he said pivots, I'm thinking, oh, okay, the 117 or the 173 or the 117 and a quarter. And let me open up the catalog and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because I don't remember, because I don't have their part numbers memorized. You know, he actually could have done center hung. He could have done center hung. If you were going to do center hung on that, what he could have done, check this out. Here's his casing on the outside. Here's his jamb. What he could have done is this. Center hung, your pivot point is here. Your door is going to occupy this space. And you see where I'm going with that. As that rotates out, that edge is going to come right in here. He could have put a large concave feature to this, obviously complicating the gasketing aspect. Anyway, if you were to search Harmon hinge, I don't know if I'll find. Yeah, Wilmette Hardware. I'm aware of them. High-end hardware. There's a document that exists in the world showing that concave application, but I don't. Oh, PF Gearin. I think it was these guys. No, it's not. A good customer of ours. They do really one-off high-end stuff. There's a document that shows Harmon hinges or pocket hinges installed in such a way where, yeah, you're going to create a concave situation. Show me that document. Yeah, this idea. These are pocket hinges. That's when you want the door to be flush with the wall when the doors are open. But the same sort of concept. You've got to allow for the door to rotate like that. Okay, back to the ABH catalog. So 0117 was the first hinge that I searched for. And as soon as I got to it, I realized, oh, no, that's not going to work because you've got the floor plate here. That's just not going to work. So then I scrolled down and said, I want the jam-mounted one. Yep, that would work. Then as the client continued talking, I started scrolling down to look for the one that just mounts down to a sill without as much of a floor plate, the 0173. But then he said he didn't want to see any of that hardware. And that's when I said, well, to do that, you'd need center-hung pivots. No. He then said that Brandon at ABH, love Brandon, he's always helped me, go with top pivots, top and bottom. Will that work? It will. But they're not load bearing. They're not meant for that. It's not at the end of the day, what serves the need of the owner the best. And I believe my conclusion does, rather than top pivots. Now, you could do that. You would mortise everything to the header, to the top of the door, to the bottom of the door, and to the sill. You remove this hex screw cap, hex screw cap. The bearing, the pin that is in here comes out. You get it in place, and then you slide those pins in and tighten your caps, top and bottom. That's going to work. There's no thrust bearing in here. There's no anti-friction device in here. And could something be added? Sure. I'm sure you can get some high-tech plastic to stick in there. But I admittedly do not try to take an order away from someone, that old saying, you dance with the one who brung you. This is ABH's party. They're throwing it. But I do believe that my suggestion of the sauce hinge is superior. And let's take a look at the sauce. So knowing that his doors are 2-inch thick, he could do the 220. He doesn't need that much caliber. So here we are. Sauce 218 US 15. This is the hinge. They're in stock. Here's the template. It looks gnarly. It's not. You've got, what do you have here? You have an overall depth You know that you're 1 and 41/64ths, you know, and then you will soldier stack them at the top. The most important thing is the E dimension. The E dimension. E is an echo. The E dimension. The E dimension on this hinge is 1/4 inch. That means that you can never exceed the E dimension. The face of the door to where the hinge starts. The face of the jamb to where the hinge starts, 1/4 inch. If exceeded, the door may not open. Why is that? Let's look at the clearance detail. That's why. When you stare at this, you say to yourself, oh, I see. I get it. I get it. It needs to open. Don't exceed the E dimension. You're off to the races. Then I also put on the client's quote the template. This you're just simply going to nail on to the, you know, to the prescribed location. I also added to the order because it's the job of a salesman to make sure the client has everything they could. I walked in to buy a dress shirt for a suit that I already owned. And the salesman, an older gentleman of Puerto Rican descent or Cuban descent, I forget. Doesn't matter his descent in the sense that he wasn't originally from here in Naples, Florida. He was from New York, but he's lived here for 40 years and in New York for probably 10 years. And this gentleman was in his 70s, and he still had a heavy, proper accent, a proper American accent, meaning you don't sound like you're from Minnesota or Chicago like I am. And he was great. Hey, you know, do you need a pocket square? And the answer is yes. I didn't know it, but it really elevated what I was doing. The point is he upsold me. He upsold me. To his credit, he did me credit by upselling me. So, am I trying to upsell the client? Yes, of course. This is a for-profit organization. But the client, if he buys the template, which for $25, which is what that template costs, by the way, he's going to need the router bit. That template's $25. He's going to need the router bit. He's going to need the router guide for that, which we stock. So he's doing a one-off job. He'll have the parts. It's all good. So for an additional $50 plus the bit, $104, I mean, he's not only getting the hardware, but now when it all shows up, he's got one box to open. All he has to do is go grab his hammer. He has to grab his router, and that's it. That's all he needs to do. He's off to the races. So I really believe the sauce hinge is the way to go on this. And I think that the client's needs will be ideally suited. And again, and in conclusion, the reason I like it is because what are we trying to build? This is the elevation of what they're trying to build. I would imagine that these carriage doors are, the word that you would probably not use to describe them would be inexpensive. The best hardware for me is the hardware that you never see. Conceal it whenever you can, and preserving the look is the key on this. Anything else that they do with pivots, a pivot set, top pivots, butt hinges, continuous hinge that Brandon had suggested is awful. Peace and love, Brandon, again, but he solves the problem because it'll never sag, but it will look awful. Sauce, completely concealed. You need to open that door to 15 degree, great. It'll go to 95 degree probably. Oh, and then let's look at, I had mentioned cabin hook a number of times. They're going to open up these really expensive carriage doors. You're going to want to make sure that the wind doesn't snatch them and rip them open. Cabin hook, casement stay, casement fastener. All right, cabin hook, something like this. If you're on on a sunset cruise boat for 2.5 hours and dinner is served and drinks are included, you're going to see a cabin hook literally on the door to the bathroom. This allows you to lash the door in the closed position and allows them to swing it out and hold it in the open position. Really good stuff. So some way, I'm not saying get a cabin hook, but I'm saying you need some way to control the door. Casement fastener. Yeah, don't love these. Yeah, casement stays. This is going to allow you to crack the door open to whatever degree that you want and lock the knob down. Okay? You're going to want to control that opening somehow. Yeah. You know, since we're talking about being super fancy, the client could also do mortised overhead stops. Mortised overhead stops. Okay. We're going to get there. This would be really cool. Okay. Oh, you know what? Back to ABH. Do I still have your catalog open? Let's give ABH some credit here. All right. Yeah. Don't you make me go back up. I think they're gonna. Yep. Okay. Overhead stops. Concealed mount, page B3. Yeah. Mortised into the header and into the top of the door. Concealed standard duty is what I want. Right here. 4000 series. This gets mortised into the header and into the top of the door. And the point of the matter is, depending on where you template the material, you're going to control the degree of opening from 85 to 110. So I would template these to 90 degrees, knowing your door will go a little bit larger. Should the carriage door get grabbed by the wind and forcibly opened, this will dead stop it. Shock absorbing spring provides 3 to 5 degree cushion before dead stop. I'd probably then template them to 85 degree. I don't want to get into my jam material at all. I don't want that to hyperextend to where that door is going to hit this outside corner. So yeah, this is amazing. This is going to complicate gasketing up at the top, obviously, so you'd have to think about it. But as I had said to the client, these are conversations with the owner. What do you want it to look like when it's done? Now, again, we can order the 218 in white, and I should probably put some of those on the shelf because people do occasionally ask for the sauce hinges in white. I just don't stock them. I don't have enough call for white, but I'm actually gonna put some on my stock order in white. I think that wraps everything up. I would love to hear back any comments that you have. Positivity is always appreciated. And if you have any way to do it better, I would doubly love to hear from you. My name is Rich, owner of Architectural Builders Store. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.